Mojtaba may be using the truce period to help restore Iran's underground missile cities, according to reports and satellite imagery. The US and Israeli claim that Iran's missile power was destroyed is now facing new scrutiny and skepticism. US intelligence sources reportedly suggest that nearly half of Iran's launchers may still remain intact despite the prolonged war. Iran's secret missile stockpiles may be one reason why Trump appears to want talks at this stage. The US failed to secure a quick victory in 1 month, and it is now facing pressure over the Hormuz blockade. Iran may now be emerging as the real victor, even as Trump says the war is almost over and the US signals frustration. Iran is reportedly working to clear away the debris that is blocking access to its underground missile bases, according to multiple reports. The revelation emerged on April 14 in a CNN report that cited satellite imagery, as also noted by Iran International. The images reportedly show heavy machinery being used to clear tunnel entrances during the 2-week ceasefire with the United States. The entrances to these missile bases had earlier been targeted in strikes carried out by both the United States and Israel. One of the central aims of the war was to destroy Iran's ballistic missile program and weaken its long-range strike capability. U.S. War Secretary Pete Hegseth had claimed that the joint U.S.-Israeli operations had destroyed Iran's missile program. Hegseth also said that Iran's military had been rendered ineffective for years to come after the strikes. However, recent U.S. intelligence assessments suggest that roughly half of Iran's missile launchers are still intact. Experts cited by CNN said this kind of activity reflects the design and purpose of Iran's underground missile cities. These missile cities are built to survive attacks, allow forces to emerge again, and resume operations after an assault. The research associate said, quote, "A ceasefire requires you to accept that your adversary is going to reconstitute some of their military capacity that you just spent a bunch of time and effort and money destroying. This aligns with the overall concept of operations for the missile city, which was, you eat the first attack, dig yourself out, and then launch again," unquote. After imposing a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump has signaled a possible shift toward renewed diplomatic engagement. The US president indicated that he is considering a second round of negotiations with Iran, according to recent reports. In an interview with the New York Post, Trump stated that discussions with Iran could resume within the next 2 days. He also suggested that the proposed talks may once again take place in Islamabad, based on current indications. However, Trump's remarks appear to differ from earlier statements made in the same interview cycle. Previous reports had indicated that he described the pace of talks with Iran as slow and uncertain. He had also earlier suggested that a second round of negotiations might not be held in Pakistan. According to the New York Post, Trump had even indicated that European countries could host the next phase of discussions. This renewed diplomatic signal comes even as the US continues to enforce its naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Reports suggest that the blockade, initiated on April 13th, has not yet produced a decisive impact on maritime activity. This is despite the deployment of more than 10,000 US personnel, along with multiple warships and aircraft. US Central Command stated that no vessels successfully transited the strait during the first day of enforcement. CENTCOM said, and I quote, "More than 10,000 US sailors, Marines, and airmen along with over a dozen warships and dozens of aircraft are executing the mission to blockade ships entering and departing Iranian ports. During the first 24 hours, no ships made it past the US blockade. And 6 merchant vessels complied with direction from US forces to turn around to re-enter an Iranian port on the Gulf of Oman. The blockade is being enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. US forces are supporting freedom of navigation. 4 vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports," end quote. However, separate reports have suggested that some vessels may have managed to bypass aspects of the blockade despite these claims. Iran strongly condemned the United States as it launched a provocative naval blockade on the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz, escalating tensions in one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. Iran's IRGC Quds Force Chief boldly declared that both the US and Israel will ultimately return completely empty-handed from their aggressive maneuvers in the region. Brigadier General Ismail Qani's pointed comments were prominently reported by the Iranian state-affiliated outlet Press TV on April 13, highlighting Tehran's unyielding stance. The U.S. on April 13 officially launched a comprehensive naval blockade aimed specifically at stopping ships from entering or exiting key Iranian ports along the Persian Gulf. However, fresh reports indicated that multiple commercial and cargo ships successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz despite the heavily publicized U.S. blockade efforts. An Iran-linked oil tanker along with several Chinese ships were reportedly able to transit freely amid the ongoing blockade, underscoring potential cracks in the American enforcement.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.